Many of you have heard of disinformation, and usually not in a positive way. We get a ton of false information daily, and when it is directed at us, it's been called fake news. But this video is not about information we receive, but about information we send out. Let's examine how disinformation is very useful and critically necessary to defend our privacy. So if you have any compunctions about lying or giving false information, it's time to let go of that attitude because this is very important for your safety. Stay tuned for more. This channel exists from your support, so I just want to say that I appreciate those of you who donate through Patreon and those who buy products from my store. Thank you so much. Your help makes me focus on creating content that's hopefully helpful to many of you. There are two ways to achieve privacy on the internet. One is to stop sending data out, which is pretty hard because it means you can't use social media, the internet, and perhaps not even use a phone. But there's an alternative that allows you to use the internet, and that is to ensure that the data that you do leak out is not accurate. In other words, the data that you leak out is disinformation. For those that hate to lie, you're going to have to rethink your morality with the internet. This is not about lying to specific people. This is about lying to an AI, artificial intelligence. The first thing one should do when coming out with a privacy strategy is to map out your threats. People like Edward Snowden and Julian Assange have a completely different threat profile than an average person. Dissidents in countries with repressive governments have a different threat profile. Journalists have a different threat profile. These people fear something called active surveillance. These are cases when there are actual government agents assigned to track movements, record phone conversations, and wiretap internet activity. For these types of people, it would be advisable to never even have a phone and have extremely limited and controlled internet access. The rest of us, however, have much to fear as well, though not in the same context. The fear that applies to most of the population is mass surveillance, behavioral profiling, and message manipulation by the big internet companies, plus individualized attacks. The reason this is a fear is that the internet is unforgiving. All data that flows through the internet is permanent, and clearly that information will outlive you. I've seen cases where people have died and all of their internet data is still out there. This is the unfairness of it all. As good people, we don't like to lie because of the morality of truth. But if we push out nothing but truth, then that information is captured in databases where corporate entities and governments use the data against us. In case you think this is of little concern, think about your credit rating. Currently, this is used to manipulate you and control your behavior already, especially with spending. Think about a social rating. That already exists, and not just in China. Whether we like it or not, our real information goes to the internet. It can't be stopped. Aside from our credit rating, there are public records like real estate purchases, legal actions, and for some, there is some information based on our profession like licenses or marketing our businesses. If we then add our private lives to these through our interactions on social media, then someone is able to capture our entire lives on the internet. And this exposes us to stalking, doxing, online shaming, and manipulation of our behavior and votes, or use it to negatively impact our business or profession. But think about this. If your private life is kept private, then you partition the public information from the personal information, and you deny an attacking entity the ability to affect you in any way. The process of extracting information from a population and manipulating that information is called data mining. It's not actually a direct personal attack like doxing, but the data mining can be used to sift through the large amounts of data to filter a target, and that can enable a more direct and specific attack. Data mining, in a sense, is dumb because it is based on common algorithms for sifting through data. Since most people provide real information on the internet, it is quite effective. Let me remind you of one of the most famous uses of data mining. Cambridge Analytica used Facebook data to profile the personalities of 50 million Americans, the point of which was to analyze behaviors and use it for political micro-targeting. This is just a nice way of saying it can be used to do targeted fake news, and then they can quantify how people react to that. That information can then be used to influence votes or to market products. But we can actually fight back and prevent these parties from controlling us by confusing their data mining algorithms. Let me give you an example, a simple one. If your real name is Hilda Peterson, an AI might already be making some decisions about your profile. Is this person female? Is this person of Scandinavian descent? Is the name unique enough that with a location it can match a real identity in public records? What if this person did two things on the internet? Let's say she used a slightly different name on social media, like Hilda Joseph Peterson. The AI will now get confused. Male? Female? What about a name like Pat Peterson, which can be androgynous? What if she used a name like Hilda Gonzalez? These kinds of changes would be essential examples of disinformation, which, if managed correctly, can really mess up the data mining algorithms. As you can see, it doesn't have to take much. Let's theorize another approach. Some of you fear that Google is tracking your search activity, and your YouTube watching behaviors. More than that, Google itself is doing extensive location tracking and device fingerprinting that can, in theory, track the physical movements of most adults in the world. This is something I talk about in other videos. What if your phone has no Google ID? What if you stop Google from tracking your location 24/7? What if your identity is anonymized on your phone? And as I explained in other videos, this can be done with specially made phones that I have in my store, either the Google phones or Linux phones. But think about this. Your phone is constantly leaking out information. It has notification traffic. There's usage telemetry by Google from something called Firebase. But the most important thing to Google is to be able to match this information to a specific individual. If this becomes vague in any kind of a way, the data they collect becomes useless. This is our defense. Make the data useless. So they know that this particular individual likes to watch gun videos, and they want to profile these types of individuals in a particular way because they often fall into one political group. But if there's no way to pinpoint it to a particular individual, there's no way for the counter message to be sent back. Thus, it becomes impossible to try to influence that individual in any way. Now, you can do more advanced disinformation, for example, by watching anti-gun videos. That would really confuse the AI. But in this case, without an identity, the data is already tainted without doing anything further. This idea of tainting the information, by the way, is the reason we use VPNs. A VPN doesn't hide your traffic from the internet. It just moves the appearance of your traffic from your home to the VPN server location. And the identifier that's unique to you, your home IP address, is now hidden. And an outsider then sees only the IP address of the VPN, which is typically in a server farm someplace. Many people use the same VPN, so if someone wanted to track activities by an IP address, the context will be mixed up with different names, different locations, different political beliefs, different genders. The data will not be useful. Disinformation is a powerful tool because if done right, It can allow you to use the internet freely and not fear ad trackers and Google search tracking and location tracking. Disinformation is the only real defense we have against the big entities that attempt to control us. The disinformation approach has a big enemy, unfortunately, and this enemy is Facebook. Back in the days of MySpace, you could use any name, and unless someone knew your MySpace identity, you couldn't be found on that platform. Using a pen name on the internet is called pseudo-anonymity. You're not anonymous because anything you post is still connected to some identity. However, because it is not your real name, it can't be connected to your real-life public data directly. Facebook, however, has done everything it can to spy on our actual behaviors to make sure that our names, our locations, our relationships, our phone numbers, and our ideas are crowdsourced to be accurate. This makes Facebook very unique because it collects only real personal information about you. Zocked up. This platform is so sneaky that if anyone in your family has a Facebook app, it begins to connect your relationships just from spying on MAC addresses nearby, which are like unique serial numbers. Facebook denies us the use of disinformation as a defensive tool. So this is why I tell you to delete your Facebook account if you want some semblance of privacy. I have a video on doxing. If you want to dox someone, meaning reveal personal information about someone on the internet, the place I would go to is Facebook. The Facebook database is not just a privacy busting tool for Facebook, the corporation, but also for any party that wants to attack you in any way, including scammers, stalkers, and personal enemies. And let me remind you again that Facebook data is permanent. There aren't too many platforms that threaten disinformation defense other than Facebook and also LinkedIn. LinkedIn is another real name site. Some of you have to be on LinkedIn, and I understand that. But that is no different than public records about you that you cannot stop. What is important is to delineate between your personal affairs and your profession. Never mix the two. And this is where Facebook is extra bad because it connects your professional activities with your personal ones. So if you're a doctor with a professional presence, your nasty divorce and your family interactions will be part of your public presence. For many people, this could affect your employment and business. This is particularly true of people who like to strongly discuss politics on social media. This means 50% of your professional relationships or clients will now dislike you. Defense using disinformation puts capabilities in your hands that can weaken the data mining players. It's basically like asymmetric information warfare. The little guy has the advantage if you use it, like guerrilla warfare. Now let's talk about how to properly execute disinformation as a defensive strategy for privacy. There's only 3 major things, and these are key and is the foundation of our defense. Number 1, separate identities. First, create a separate identity for your social media interactions. It just has to allow you to have some separation between your public life and your personal life. Be careful when doing separate identities since most people use the same photos. Be aware that there's something called a Google reverse image search where you can search for a photo on the internet instead of text. So multiple names can get connected to one. So if you made a name and used the same photo, it may be time to redo that identity and start fresh and delete what you can. Often you can't delete. Certainly not on Facebook. And don't forget that there's archive.org or the Wayback Machine that has a record of anything on the internet since the beginning of the internet. Make sure you don't connect identities together by using the same email or the same phone numbers. Be aware that matching this kind of data is quick and easy for any AI to figure out. Number 2, your phone. In today's world, most of the tracking of locations and real identities occur on a phone. This currently enables Apple and Google to do contact tracing for infections without having to tell you. These companies already know who was in contact with who, but for marketing reasons, they will tell you that they will track only with your permission. That is false, by the way. They are already tracking. They will just reveal the information with your permission. Otherwise, they'll hide it from you, though they know it. So, much of our defense of our data lies in our phone choices. As I've discussed in other videos, there are only a few limited ways to stop location telemetry and device fingerprinting, and that is with a de-Googled phone, a Linux phone, or an older phone like a BlackBerry Bold. Think about leaving your Google, Android, and iOS phone at home. Use these other choices when you leave your home. 3. Your IP address. This is the next major identifier that points to you specifically. My IP address has been the same for at least 18 years. It is definitely unique to me and identifies anything I do on the internet. Protect your IP address at all costs. A VPN and Tor are two disinformation tools that hide your IP address on the internet, as well as add encryption. This is something that most people don't even know. Did you know that any email you send out includes your IP address in the email header? So, without knowing it, you've sent your unique identifier to multiple entities. And something that's connected to your phone use, there's a capability that's been around a while called reverse IP lookup. This ties the IP address to known locations as recorded by many apps, and then this data is sold to location data aggregators. So if an IP address is used even by your relatives and friends that visit your home, then your data shows up in the reverse IP lookup database, and someone can find your exact location from the IP address. Now, there's a lot more to do to have a high level of privacy, but this short list is enough to actually mess up the AI. It won't stop an active attacker who's specifically searching for you, because it's easy to watch for clues in communications where someone makes a mistake in social media. In the future, disinformation defense is going to be harder because of facial recognition, 5G location tracking, interconnected surveillance devices like Ring cameras. But at the moment, we can beat the AI even with little moves. Maybe this face mask thing is a great thing for the long run, because that's one of the ways to beat intensive facial recognition. Now let me make a closing comment to the hardcore privacy enthusiast. Again, my advice here doesn't apply to those fearing active government surveillance. Those require more extreme measures. But I don't want to confuse the issue where people on the internet all call themselves No Name. No offense to the many people I talk to with the name No Name, but this kind of extreme paranoia is not necessary for average people. For example, there are many millions of people with the same first name, so hiding to the extreme just draws more attention. Using only end-to-end encryption may be important if your identities are known. But two random people talking on a pseudo-anonymous site like my app BraxMe have nothing to fear, because their actual defense is the lack of an identity, which is part of the disinformation. Since BraxMe also has encryption, then you actually get the best of both worlds, encryption with no identity. Or in other words, encryption and disinformation. So no need to go crazy with this. Instead, focus your attention on where an AI might detect some pattern that could connect a real identity with a pseudo-anonymous one, like reusing phone numbers, emails, photos, and some other incriminating evidence like device fingerprints. If you find this information useful and want to hear more, please subscribe to this channel. Make sure to hit that notification bell. I do 1 to 2 videos a week and 1 live stream, usually on a Friday night. Thank you for watching.